better. Hurry.
Spock is still alive. How could Spock have died?
Spock! Leonard wanted to leave. And then he changed his mind. And we bring him back.
Don't grieve, Admiral. It is logical. The needs of the many outweigh
The needs of the few.
or the one.
I thought, well, let's go for it. Let's do it. It was very moving. It was really intended to be the end of Spock. The day we shot the scene, I remember being extremely sensitive about what we were doing and kind of philosophical, thinking, gee, end of a long story here with this character.
Live long and prosper.
That picture had a feel about it. And in a scene in the movie before he dies, he does this thing with me and says,
Remember.
and I thought, uh-oh, you know, Leonard's going to come to life.
Repeat and augment.
Remember.
And then he said, well, maybe I'm not out of here. And we brought him back.
I think we were successful in Star Trek III because it was a story about the rest of the crew being willing to put their lives, their careers, their reputations on the line to help a friend. It had to do with loyalty.
My God knows. What have I done?
What you had to do. What you always do. Turn death into a fighting chance to live.
Counselor's log. Note the word loyalty. A ship's crew cannot survive without it. And without it, this crew would never have survived to face its final and most important mission.
To offer Klingons a safe haven within Federation space is suicide.
They're animals, Jim. They are dying.
Counselor's log, stardate 45343.2. The crew of our ship is very different to the crew of the original Starship Enterprise. For example, Lieutenant Worf would not have been able to stand on that bridge. In their time, the Federation and the Klingon Empire were bitter enemies.
The Klingons were the Cold War of today.
You of the Federation, you are much like us.
We're nothing like you.
The arch enemy of the West, what President Reagan, when he was president, referred to as the evil empire, was beginning to fall apart. And our evil empire in Star Trek was the Klingons.
Klingon bastard, you've killed my son.
I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we could now do a story about the Klingons having a difficulty which would lead them to need to come to us and say, let's talk about peace.
2 months ago, a Federation starship monitored an explosion on the Klingon moon, Praxis. They will have depleted their supply of oxygen in approximately 50 Earth years.
You, Captain Kirk, are to be our first olive branch.
Me?
You must remember they're facing retirement.
We volunteered.
There's an old Vulcan proverb. Only Nixon could go to China.
Spock is playing the elder statesman. Spock is playing the person who has kind of been through the battles as a result of ideas that he proposes. Kirk and McCoy and the Enterprise are put into a life-threatening situation.
I offer into the record this excerpt from the captain's personal log.
I've never trusted Klingons. And I never will.
We think it's the combination of a good story, the science fiction effects, if you will, the relationship of the characters, the humor, and the action speed with which the story is told.
Captain?
sense of peace about it. I feel a great sense of accomplishment, a great sense of satisfaction. I think this is a good movie, a crowd pleaser, entertaining movie, and a movie that has a sense of closure about it, a sense of goodbye about it.
If you could do everything over again, would you do this again? And I thought about it. I stood there and thought about it, for a while. And I said, yes, I would.
Computer, close file on Enterprise A. Counselor's log, final entry. The crews of both ships had much in common, and many differences. Most notably...
Counselor Troi, Captain Picard requires you on base immediately.
Acknowledged. Now what was I saying? Oh, yes. I was comparing the crews. Well, it's like Will Riker once said. It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Is a tall ship and a star to steer by.
The best of Saturday Night Live is just 30 minutes away. Right now, stay tuned for the Rappumentary, up next on MTV.